Qatar. To explain how these investigations work and what's involved in this legal process, let's check in with Joseph Tully, who has litigated cases in federal court before. And Joseph, thank you for joining us here. What do you make of this back and forth? You've got the New York Times, considered a newspaper of record here, reporting this federal probe, and now reporting, and even the DOJ telling Fox 5 there is no such investigation. What happened?
Well, I think that there's a couple things going on, and there was conflicting reporting. But to the best of my knowledge, looking at the different sources, it looks like there's two separate DOJ probes going on, one into a trip taken by the mayor and some officials to Qatar back from December of 2023. And separately, there was another DOJ investigation into how D.C. was keeping their crime statistics from August. And in both of those, the DOJ is saying that the mayor is not a target of them. And I can tell you that usually misreporting of gifts, and that's what the issue would be regarding the trip to Qatar, is whether or not it was reported accurately. Those are usually more civil and administrative. So it looks like there's some misreporting, or the DOJ is not being upfront. It's one of those two issues, but I would tend to side with the DOJ that they are not targeting the mayor at this point.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, if you have the U.S. Attorney for D.C. saying there is no investigation, we've not investigated, then you have to take them for their word. The mayor says she had no idea, her office, that there was an investigation. However, the New York Times in their reporting also saying that there was at least one FBI agent who was fired last week, who was investigating this case, also fired for investigating their president. Any sense as to what that could tell us here? Could there potentially have been an investigation here, but the DOJ did not want to pursue it?
Well, it looks like there's two separate investigations, and that they are pursuing it from the sources that I've read, but that neither of them is the mayor the target. And regarding the trip, it doesn't appear to be criminal in nature. If anything, it would just be misreporting. Hey, you should have said this was a gift, you'll get fined, or something like that. Regarding whether or not the MPD kept accurate crime statistics, I think that would be a little bit more serious, but it doesn't appear that the mayor would have been involved in that, or is involved in that. Yeah,
and clearly two different things. The DOJ from the very beginning has said that there is absolutely an investigation into the alleged, misreporting and just messing around with the statistics for crime in D.C., and there's been a criminal investigation, or I should say at least a congressional investigation into that as well. Now, this is completely separate, the investigation into, allegedly, into the mayor as to that trip that you mentioned there in 2023. The New York Times in their reporting saying that there was also the dismantling of this so-called ethics unit within the DOJ, which is why this wasn't being pursued. But then again, to have just this forceful response there from the DOJ, I think is telling.
I do too. I think, as you said, we have to take them at their word at this point. And unless usually there's evidence of quid pro quo, in other words, bribery. Qatar is saying, look, we will pay for this luxurious trip for you guys to fly out, and in exchange, I want you to do this for me. That would be bribery, and that would bring this investigation into a more criminal area, and that does not appear to be the case at this point. And so when the DOJ says, look, the mayor is not involved in is not the target of a criminal investigation, based on what's reported, there's no allegations of quid pro quo or bribery, then I would tend to lean on that there's kind of nothing here in terms of criminal allegations.
Right. They would have to prove that the mayor offered something back to Qatar that then it would be that quid pro quo that you talk about. Just incredible situation here where you have reporting, misreporting. We did reach out to the New York Times and to the authors of that article to see if we could have them on the show here to get more clarity. We've not heard back, and there hasn't been an update since then, but clearly a lot of people asking questions today. Joseph, we appreciate, as always, your legal analysis.
All right, thank you.
All right, let's move on to topic number 3 here. We're mystery unfolding in one of the most secure